So these are two other OSI talks that I'm going to play. Now the key thing is as soon as I upload these to YouTube, I lose the date, right? So if I go to the details on it, if I go back to my search right here, see? April 11th, April 11th, 2012, right? These I just did a search for OSI, and this is part 1 and part 2. So I found actually that was part 3. I think I've uploaded this is part 1, part 2, part 3. So this is part of that slide rocket presentation, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play them right in full screen. This is part 1, and we're going to make a video, and then I'm going to upload that video, and I'm going to keep a record that in fact that they were uploaded in 2012, because YouTube is now deleting the fact of the upload, and as long as I keep it as an unlisted, as soon as I list it, it changes this thing, so it has the upload date. So this is evidence that basically UnDaoDu's work is what inspired the creation of Ethereum. The big mystery is how did a 19-year-old come up with all this? Well, he wasn't. It was basically a 45-year-old who'd spent his life doing startups and analyzing and understanding and figuring out for 2 years how could he take a hammer to the entire system and change it, and he stumbled upon Bitcoin, right? So let's do the video of UnDaoDu talking, which is part 2. Let's watch part 1, wherever it is, part 1. Let's play it. Let's put it full screen.
Okay, I'm going to do this talk here on the open startup, and ultimately talk about really the pain. The pain is we're coming to an end of growth. The pain is we're coming to an
Actually, this is important right here, okay? So, non-derivatives. Non-derivatives. The blockchain is a derivative of my work. The open startup, which is a Foundup on Foundups, is licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Non-Derivative 2.0 Japanese license. You cannot take my work and create a derivative of it. So, do I have a case? Can I own the blockchain? Do I own the blockchain? You tell me. I don't really care. I'm not going to sue anyone. Suing is for fucking pussies. I hate lawyers. But the simple fact is, non-derivative. You tell me. Am I describing the blockchain? We are seeking a 100,000 seed contribution. In return, your name will be associated with the open startup, right? For 5 years. The brand IPO, or whichever comes first. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to do this talk here on the open startup, and ultimately talk about really the pain. The pain is we're coming to an end of growth. This is the massive pain. How do we bring about the innovation to help, to limit this event that has been forecast since 1971? If you look, we're right here, and I believe we're pretty much at the tip here. Okay, I believe we are here, right? We are at the end of growth right now, and how do we bring about the innovation? That's really the question, because success equals access to capital, and yet we cannot bring about that success. So the end of growth is a massive new innovation stage paradigm that just crossed the threshold.
All right, I want to talk about that. Let me go back. All right, I want to talk about that. There's a lot in this slide that I didn't talk about. You'll notice e-singularity. E-singularity was education singularity that I've always said since 2004. This is the first startup. This is what led to Foundups. Is going to happen before the T singularity. The technology singularity, the education singularity will happen before the T singularity. And the all open courseware and all that stuff, again, is also happens just as I said it was, even though the E singularity, technically we are upon it now, phase 1 of 3, because it is autonomous learning to an 8th grade equivalent in math, science, language arts on any form mobile device. The mobile device teaches you. We have this AI stealing our data. Why isn't the AI isn't it used to basically remove the teacher and school barrier? So that's what e-singularity is here. Also, right? This is the why of the blockchain, people. This is why the blockchain exists, to allow us to overcome this end of growth. We have to transform our economic system of capitalism from one which is built on this insane idea of consumption of our limited resources. And this is where I ranted at Charles about, right? The blockchain, as the way it's been released now, okay, has sped up this consumption of resources, because we've added another layer of a consumption built on an endemically flawed, market system that treats our planet as infinite. So we've added more millionaires, more billionaires, more projects, more consumption, more blah 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 blah. You get what I'm going at, right? So this is why it's so important for us to change this paradigm. And as I said in the other talk, what I realized back in 2010, 11, I forget now specifically, well, it happened definitely with 2011 with Occupy Wall Street, was it is the business model which is driven by the engine, the startup, that feeds Wall Street, right? That's collapsing everything. And I would walk around back then when I was reaching out to Dave. Dave McClure blocked me because I bugged him so much. I broke into his office, back when I was in Silicon. I broke in. I mean, I kind of snuck in. I talked to one of his guys. I was just trying. I went to Sequoia. I talked to Bill at Sequoia. He says, very interesting. That's all I got, right? Very interesting. So I was looking at any way to find some funding. I had no funding. Just a poor English teacher living in Japan. Ultimately, my idea was taken, monetized, sold to Joe Lubin, and ushering in this derivative of my work called the blockchain. All right. So this is the why. This is what it's all about. This is why it exists. All this other shit on the blockchain is just noise.
But what is a startup? Okay, you have to understand a startup is broken into 3 stages.
This is a great question to ask someone. No one can answer. You ask anyone what is a startup, no one can answer this question. This is one of the earliest things I realized is that no one can define a startup, right? And ultimately, the reason for that is there's 3 kinds of startups. So depending on who you're talking to, there's a different answer. If you're talking to the government, they want an incorporated vehicle. If you're talking to a VC, he wants something that's already gone through a seed round. If you're talking to a seed investor, they're looking for a team and a group of people together, right, that have an idea and have built a prototype where developers are gods. What about the rest of us? People like myself who can't code, who live out there, who have all these ideas. And here's the other thing is, if you talk to anyone, like or research anything about an idea, let's say Bell, Tesla, anyone who is a real thinker, they will tell you the idea is everything. But everyone else who's in finance and everything says an idea is nothing, right? The reason why the idea is nothing is because you have to wrap it around all this other stuff that if you live in Bangalore, or you live in the Philippines, or you don't have access to these closed capital networks that I'm going to get into, right, which is the paradigm of success, and it's still the paradigm of success. We're still living this paradigm that I'm looking to undo, and the whole tokenization framework that I'm introducing does that. And I'd love someone to come on and argue how it won't. Right? They can't. That's why everyone's fucking silent with me right now that I'm saying, because I basically dropped the bomb on the blockchain, and everyone now is recovering from my videos and my realization, because the founder, UnDaoDu, the visionary behind the blockchain, now has just stepped it up and said, this is where we're going. And this is 2012, remember? I'm giving you some background. And back then, none of this made sense because, why? The paradigm didn't exist. You couldn't see it. But now the paradigm is here, and it's all going to make sense to you.
Here's that same, this is, the what's known as the law of diffusion of innovation. So 2.5% of startups are innovation stage startups, and ultimately you could actually invert this triangle a vast majority of them are actually pre-seed. So this is actually the opportunity of the pre-seed startups actually becoming early stage ones. And what we're trying to do is actually eliminate the middle stage. That's what we're doing with the open startup paradigm. We're eliminating the need for the seed stage. So it's really pre-seed to.
All right, I'm describing the ICO right here, people. I'm describing the fucking ICO, right? this is you have an idea, you launch it. Here's the ICO I'm describing. I'm calling it micro seed investors. That's the people involved, right? And you're basically getting to the VC. This all gets, it's like you have the idea, you launch the ICO, and then you're get to go, and then you come into the seed round. Here's the ICO.
To seeded. That's the future. All right. So a startup basically is any idea or company that has under 200, well, under 100,000 looking to launch. So our goal is to make it really simple, kind of like how, if you think about Jobs, what he did with the PC for everyone, what we're doing is the same thing for the startup.
So yeah, easy, simple, collaborate. It's I didn't have the word decentralized in my vocabulary. I didn't. That's why I used the upside down I. I knew I was missing a vocabulary. So you'll see me use the upside down, which means bottom up innovation instead of top down innovation, right? Innovation bottom up and top down. So easy, simple, ubiquitous, colors, open startup ecosystem. That's the blockchain. All right, that anyone can set to launch an idea, do an ICO, do a white paper, share it. Boom, there's the ICO.
Imagine not having to worry about incorporating, not having to worry about securing IP.
Hello, DAO. Hello. UnDaoDu right here is describing the DAO, right? The Open Corp is the DAO. That was taken and stolen by Vitalik, put in his paper without giving any citation or credit to my work.
Not having to worry about,
sorry, UnDaoDu's work.
Basically, how do I raise money for my startup? How do I move it from point A to point B? What are the different stages? Imagine if all this is a ubiquitous solution. This is what I spent the last 2 years architecting.
Yeah, again, I mean, this, you can think of these archangels are the ones that have made all this money off their ICO that, in my system, they'd be forced to put it back into these decentralized, these open corporations, right, that helps the people. In my system, they're not greedy and they're not consuming the rest of the planet, but they're actually reinvesting 80% of what they earn back into the system. I'm an idealist, right? And they just say, oh, fuck that. We're just going to take it and become rich, and we're just going to layer Trout's work on top of this existing stuff, or UnDaoDu's work. Sorry, I'm getting, UnDaoDu's work under this existing paradigm, and we can, make more money.
It's turning it on its head. That's why I have the upside down I, all right?
That's decentralization, all right? Bottom up innovation, turning it on its head, right? I didn't have the word decentralized. There it is. That's,
turning innovation on its head. And as a result of turning this innovation on its head, what we're going to do is actually bring about what I call the innovation revolution. Not the
innovation revolution. The blockchain.
Startup revolution, but the innovation revolution, because for the last 5,000 years, innovation has been held back because of capital, right? So imagine 95% of valid ideas become successfully launched. So
pretty close. About they say about 5% of ICOs over 5% of ICOs over didn't make it, but they launch as ICO. Over 95% of ICOs successfully launch, right? So I'm not saying that they'll successfully launch as an ICO. A lot of ICOs, I don't know what percentage of ICOs successfully launch, but it's pretty high.
So if your idea validates, you don't worry about raising money. It just validates. People like it. Will people follow it? People will put some support it in twittering it and so on. Will it launch? Imagine if, as a result, these companies become open corps, right, that turn around and invest back into launching more social capital innovation startups, right? These are the kind of startups that we need, and these are the ones that are having the biggest trouble launching their ideas.
So, so I want to put this in the framework now of a token, right? So instead of thinking of it as an idea, it's a token. So I'm simplifying it, and I'm taking the success of Dogecoin, Litecoin, and Bitcoin. I'm not interested in all the rest. They're all the rest are shit coins, for the most. They're just represent. They're stake. They're built on something, but these are actually these were not pre offered out or anything else. So if you have a tokenized idea or tokenized thing, and that tokenized thing levels up, right, over time, just like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Litecoin, there was no seed money into any of these things, right? They leveled up and become what they are today, the value they have today. Then the next stage of that token is the DAO, is the decentralized autonomous nonprofit organization. Now, I didn't come up with the DAO until 2018. The word the DAO, the DANO, not the DAO, sorry, the DANO. I introduced the DANO I think in 2018, um, um, because I realized that's what we need corporations or entities to become, not not DAOs.
Basically, success equals validate idea. It's a completely new way of approaching startups. So you have your idea, which is level zero, right? And ultimately,
That's your token, right? Level zero. I'd say division 7 now. I've changed things around.
what we're trying to do is level it up, get it to each level. Now, the objective here, as a user, is which do you think are actually going to get there, and at what point? So, at each level, we accomplish different things. It's very straightforward. Um, so there's level 3, which is developing, level 5, which is building, and level 7, which is launching. And obviously, there are some intermediary stages between each level, right? Is raising 100,000. Next one is success raising 100 to 2 million. Um, you know, I'm sorry, that's the launching, right? So at each level, we're using the crowd to fund these different things and to get them to where they need to go.
Yeah, mixing in crowdfunding here, right? Just remember, crowdfunding um, didn't come around in 2012. I think it's like 2013. Crowdfunding. This is when the acts or the that bill that was passed. So again, remember it's 2012. This is 9 years ago.
My name is Michael Trout. I'm going to continue this presentation, but this is part one of a talk.
So this was a presentation that I had done. It was the reason why I never listed it, because I did it for investors. You had to sign an NDA to see this presentation, right? IP. Now, understand this was April. I built all this up. I couldn't get it done. It was around, I messaged Norm Chomsky. I didn't send him this, but I said, listen, I'd like to get your students thinking about this whole idea of an open corporation, and get some academia thinking about it. Never heard back. Recently, I sent an image to a blockchain professor and says, maybe you'll look at my work. Norm didn't quite grab it, but maybe you'll get it. Right, talking about the open tokenization framework and getting MIT students and others actually, talking about the work. And um, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that frame, but anyway, so I'm kind of rambling here. So I appreciate you listening. I'm going to end this, and actually, you know what? Why don't we just continue? Right, so we're going to continue this here. So I'm going to shrink this down on there. Now we're going to go to the other video, right? Same period, another 5 minutes, and combine this onto it. Let's just see what it goes. And here we go.
So this is part two of the talk, Open Startup Paradigm. The paradigm is really simple. You have an idea, it's level 0. Our goal is to get it to level 7. You follow a very systematic track or roadmap to get it there. And everything is provided for you.
So notice I'm not talking about blockchain, because you think blockchain didn't exist. I couldn't use the word Bitcoin, all this stuff. I'm trying to gear this presentation to Dave McClure, to Eric Ries, to Hitam, if you talk to any of these guys, you know that, I mean, we'll talk to Dave McClure. I'm still banned by him. I bugged Dave McClure so much that he fucking blocked me. Because I was like, if I could have gotten one of these Silicon Valley cats to sit down with me and actually go over and take the time to go down this paradigm, you understand this was a paradigm shift. It didn't exist. You cannot do an elevator pitch on a new paradigm. A person has to be willing to absorb that paradigm. Now, and I'd given up. Just remember, by the time I got to, that's where I was going, by the time I got to Michal Lisi and Matthew N. Wright, okay, I had given up. And I shared all of this work without an NDA with them, and I did tell them at the very beginning, this is non-derivative. I showed them this presentation. This presentation was done before I talked to them. This is the work that I went through with them, and this is why they stuck Vitalik, right, on the head of Ethereum. This is why he is the only one on the white paper, because Joe knew that ultimately they are doing a derivative of my work. It's in violation of the license that I had shared with them on it, that they had seen, and ultimately, and I have other videos where I have this license shown, but I had, this is the first time that I'm sharing these talks that actually go into, because I kind of lost track of them. I'm just now finding them now, 9 years later.
As I said, imagine not needing to have to incorporate. That is done at level 5. You actually become a wholly owned subsidiary of ourselves or an affiliate at level 5. You don't need to do anything. It just automatically gets done. Imagine that. Level 3, you want to secure IP and other stuff. You've raised a little money. Imagine not having to worry about getting attorneys or any of that stuff. It gets done for you, and we use mass buying power, kind of like on a Groupon, to secure the best rates for you. And the thing is, it's in our interest to make sure that you secure the IP. Imagine the kind, we're securing IP from the idea stage. Most people securing the IP from the building stage. Ultimately, what we'll end up doing is creating this massive pool of IP that we will be able to basically provide to other open startups, all right? Because we're all basically a kadetsu. We're working together for the greater good. What's the greater good? We're here to fight and to stem off the end of growth. So ultimately, each stage is very systematic. You move small steps, and the thing is, what we're doing is you win by guessing which level 0 ideas are going to get to level 7. The early bird catches the worm.
So yeah, there's a little gamification. I'm a gamer, right? So there's gamification. So when you see a Foundup, right, and you can look at a Foundup and you say, you know what, you can basically you can basically bet where that idea is going to go. Will it get to what level is it going to get? Is it going to launch to as a DANO? And the same thing we're going to do with the tokens. When you see a token, we're going to, this is part of the gamification of the token. So I want you to take away the idea of a startup and just now brush it down to a token. So all of this dynamics is still there, but you're saying, will the token launch as a DANO? Will it get to division, I'm calling it, division, I've inverted it. So they all start at division 7. Will it become a division 1? Will it become division 2? And you're basically staking in a way like a stake pool, right? In doing that. And that is also, the more people that doing that in a way is kind of like putting a stake pool in. And in a way you could say this is kind of the stake pool idea described, or back in 2012. I mean, anyway.
So right now, the goal is to kind of like, okay, what are buildings? You're guessing investors are coming in at level 5, right? If you think about it, right? This is the seed stage. This is where people, this is the innovation stage. So what I want to do was to create a way to get people to jump onto early ideas, right? Because these guys, the level 0 person who puts in some Bitcoin, right, who guesses and votes for this idea, gets to level 3, is going to win. He's going to win even more if he guesses, I think it's going to go to level 5. And again, he's going to win even more if I think it's going to go to level 7, right? So ultimately, the game is what level do you think this idea is going to get to, right? And as people come in, obviously a level 3 person guessing it's going to go to level 7 is not going to earn as much as someone who put in at level 0. Make sense? So the whole idea here is to flip it on its head and to encourage people to get in early. All right. So how do we do that? Well, we tie everything with Bitcoin, and I've done some talks on Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin because it's kind of like, if you think about Bitcoin, it's very similar to gold. There's only a certain amount, and ultimately what you're trying to do is you're validating, and there's a specific way. And every bit of validation is tied to Bitcoin and actually creates a pool. So imagine there's a pool of Bitcoin that's being generated here, being put aside, and basically if you guess right, you win a percentage of this pool, right, which is shared amongst those that win. So every activity is throwing money in, and as we go further and further, the chunks of Bitcoin going into this pool get bigger and bigger and bigger. So as you basically are guessing, because all investment is guessing, you guessing where it's going to go, you're going to win. Now, what ends up happening is that when it gets to level 7, right? Here we are at level 7, right? Ultimately, what it means is it's a company, and now not only that, a whole bunch of its net profits are going to go what? Reinvested back into ideas. By who? By the lesser stakeholders. The lesser stakeholders are those individuals that can actually put money into ideas.
So let me explain that. Even me, I'm looking at going, I understand that, but I could see where someone's completely lost. So I want to put this in the point of view from a token. You have your token, you launch your token, you tie it to your product or your swag or your food or your egg or whatever it is, and you know it as this token network grows, right? People are guessing what level of token it's going to be. Is it going to be a Division 1 or Division 2? That's Litecoin. Actually, Litecoin is like a Division 3 token. Um, yeah. So yeah, Division 3. Litecoin's Division 3. Bitcoin's Division 1 now. So anything over. So I'll just talk about Division real quick. Division 7 has technically under a value of a penny, right? It's less than a penny. Division 6, it has a value of a penny to 99 cents. Division 3 has a value of a dollar, right? Actually, it's Division 4 to $10. Division, it's $10 to $1,000, $1,000 to $10,000, and we don't. And then there's over $10,000. All right, I think that's that on top of my head. I think that adds up right. You can see so you can see where we're going with that. So it's just going up and up and up and up. So we don't care about tokens anything higher than 10,000 because Bitcoin got to 10,000 in 10 years. I'm gonna throw out the 2017 as an anomaly. But if you look at the traction, really 10,000s was the mean range of Bitcoin over that 10-year period. So that becomes what I call the early adoption stage of the token. And if it can get through the early adoption stage, then you cross into the or the innovation stage. Then you're going to cross into we're in the early adoption. I would say it took 10 years for Bitcoin to move from the innovation to the early adoption. These tokens are only interested in innovation. That's the blue ocean strategy. That's that idea. That's the thing to that to that team. So what I'm doing in many respects is taking a step back from this. All of this still exists as it will come part of the framework that I'm building, right? But and maybe it'll be a part of it for people who are launching ideas or people who are of food or whatever. But it's pretty much exactly the same thing.
Think of this as it's a snake eating its own tail.
It's a snake eating its own tail. The Ouroboros. I'm describing the Ouroboros, Charles. The Ouroboros. It's a snake eating its own tail because what it's eating away is what? Is our business model. What we want to do is destroy and disrupt and transform ourselves from the original, right, to the new one. And the new paradigm. So we're moving from one sandbox to another one, and that's what we're devouring. the Ouroboros.
right? This is so highly scalable. I can't stress how scalable. Small amounts of Bitcoin, right? And I'll talk about that next as I go to
Right. Well, we know how scalable it is because we have the proof of it now, 9 years later.
the next slide. But ultimately, what we're doing here is we're allowing folks at no risk, right? Put in some Bitcoin, which you're automatically mining just by having the platform. You're earning Bitcoin, right? So you're providing us processing power. This processing power is being sold. You're getting returned in Bitcoin. These Bitcoins then are allocated to the ideas that you like, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger ultimately until the launch, right? So you have our passive crowdfunding, our crowdfunding 1, our crowdfunding 2, and our what I call strategic initiative capital campaign 1.
So in translation today, you have your pre-ICO, you have your ICO or your the three stages, right? You have your pre, you have your ICO, and then you have your later at the end. If you look at how Ethereum launched their thing, they pretty much followed this. They did call it, they did it ICO. They changed passive crowdfunding to ICO. It's a derivative. All right. So, going back to where's the other video? Those are the two videos. All right. I just want to end. I don't want to end that. I want to go to watch it. All right. I want to go to the very beginning and put this again as a reminder. Right. The it's loading here. Right. So your question is this the blockchain? Am I describing the blockchain? I'm sure talking about Bitcoin. I'm still talking about all these elements like ICOs. I'm just using different terms. Is the blockchain a derivative, all right, of this work? All right. And if it isn't, how isn't it a derivative? I showed you how it was going to grow. I showed you how it's going to fuel other things. I went through all of this. And surely you have to admit, if someone like Vitalik, we know Michal Lisi, because there's proof that I talked to him, had access to this, would this have assisted in the creation of his work? That's all. Would this talk have assisted him in the creation of his work? And what did Michal Lisi mean when he wrote, right? And we can pull that up. If I go to bit.ly, right, and I open, here is the vision, right, and we can open, right, open this up, copy, go here. And let me talk about how this happened. What happened was Michal Lisi accidentally Skyped me in 2014, and I'd forgotten who he was because it was 2 years later. And this has the dates on it. And I go, hey, man, what's going on? And he didn't realize who I was. I didn't realize who he was. And I go, hey, man, what are you doing? He goes, I'm working on Ethereum. And I was turning to go away to look a different direction, right? I was turning just to kind of like go. And you have to say, this is just some of it. We had video talks. We were sharing. I was screen sharing my work, that video that I showed you, other work. And I showed him everything because I knew Bitcoin people weren't going to sign no fucking NDA. And if they did, I'd given up. And I'd basically, you know what? I'm not going to get this launch. Here's the link, part 1, right? There's the open a new tab. Okay. And there's the link right there. I'm sure there's part 2 in here. And I'm sure I shared other ones in there. Okay. So you can see the links in here. And what happened was, back then, Skype, you could see the entire message log. And after he said Ethereum, I went to Ethereum and I watched Stephen Tao, right? This video here. Okay, let's play this video. Let's put it all together in this talk here, F11. If we do Stephen Tao. All right. So if we go to Stephen Tao video, right? Where is video of him talking Ethereum? That's not his talk. I want the original one. I want the original one. This is it right here. Okay. What is Ethereum? So I want you to imagine, okay, I just talked to Mihao, right? He goes Ethereum, something, UnDaoDu, deep inside of me, grabbed me and said, look at that. That's the only way I could. UnDaoDu was like, you need some force within me said, you got to look at that. You got to look at that. And I did. And this is what I saw.
My name is Stefan Thuel. I'm the CCO for Ethereum. My background is in IT, startups, and development. My role at Ethereum is to bring together entrepreneurs, developers, and investors to build decentralized applications on our platform. Ethereum is an open source platform to build, distribute next generation decentralized applications. That is, applications that have no middleman, where users interact with social systems, financial systems, gaming interfaces, all in a peer-to-peer fashion. Because the Ethereum network will be distributed on hundreds of thousands of computers around the globe, this all takes place on a censorship-proof foundation.
Now, all of this was like, well, I don't understand. Well, I didn't understand any of this. This understand is engineering, something I don't have. I can describe to you, a beautiful carpet, but I can't tell you how to knit it. I can describe to you how I want the function of the room, but I can't tell you the engineering. And what he's starting with, and that's what people kind of always attack me about, is like, well, did you do the smart contract? Did you do that? That's all engineering. I described how it all works. The engineer, Vitalik, I call him my dressmaker. I'm the designer, right? He's the maker. And he figured out how to make the dress. He's the dressmaker.
We make it easy for developers to build those applications, leveraging tools that they are already familiar with. Things like HTML and JavaScript to build the interfaces, or Go, Python, or Lisp to build the business logic. In short, our mission is to open up the floodgates of decentralized application development. We're currently well into a development process, and we're planning to launch a live version of our network towards the end of this year.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting. This is where I drop off my chair, because this now is describing UnDaoDu's work.
Most of the services you use today have one thing in common. They're centralized. So for example, you trust your bank to keep your money safe, to be independently audited, and to be honest. The same is true with Facebook when you upload a picture of your kids, or when you push a document to Dropbox, or even when you go to your medical practice and provide them with your personal medical information. As a developer, you need to submit your application to an app store and risk having it removed for the most far-fetched of reasons. History has proven time and time again that this model is flawed, but necessary, as so-called trustless operations have so far been both unprofitable and too complex to implement. Remember that everything that is centralized makes it easy to attack because it offers a single point of failure, like the firewall of a website. Applications built on Ethereum do not require their users to trust the developers with their personal information or funds. On Ethereum, your personal information stays yours, your fund stays yours, your content stays your content.
I take that back. It's user case. I haven't watched this video in 4 years. I thought it was there. Okay, user cases.
Ethereum is an application programming platform. So what can be built on Ethereum is only limited by the creativity of their developers. That said, such technology has 3 types of applications that immediately comes to mind. The first are individual currencies. Imagine if you're an artist and you want to support yourself by issuing a brand new currency.
So remember in my first video, I said I stopped talking about Foundup dollars and went to Bitcoin, right? All right. The whole framework, when I talked to the original framework, was a myriad of currencies or tokens. That anything in every startup that you launch would have its own token. So this, number one, was stuff that I had shared with Mihao and how the framework would have worked.
If you want to support this artist, you'd purchase that currency, technically investing in their own personal IPO. And as those millions of currencies are traded on decentralized exchange, currency itself becomes a representation of your values and not just...
So applying this to OTC, this is the same argument. Instead of currencies, right, they have tokens. And that's what he's saying currencies, but he's actually tokens. So any artist being able to create a token on any exchange ubiquitously, right, is what he's describing. He's just applying it to just Ethereum, but the simple fact is it can apply to any.
Just a means of exchange. Ethereum makes it straightforward to issue your own token of values, so you can reward your users for actions that they take even outside of the network, such as a Foursquare check-in, for example, or participating in a grid computing project. Imagine how the relationship between consumers and retailer would change if instead of issuing loyalty points, retailer would issue crypto tokens of value that could be then exchanged for goods and services on decentralized market, or even other tokens of value such as air miles. Another interesting application of this concept is that today on Facebook, if you help identify artists that subsequently become successful by pressing the like button, that value goes to Facebook advertisers, not the content producers, not you. On Ethereum, on the other hand, both the content creator and the early adopter would be rewarded for identifying that artist.
And as you watched in my previous talk, I described that with the startup, right? People liking, following, sharing. So remember, this is 2 years after my work, Peter Tao describing again another feature of my framework. Now, it's a derivative. They've changed it. They've come out with something slightly different, but it's a derivative of the work that they originally heard and they've adopted for their own.
It's a brand new revenue model that's never been seen before, and it could completely revolutionize the way we think about revenue on the internet today. The second type of application that I foresee as being very successful on Ethereum are applications that currently require a middleman. Users are tired of paying exorbitant fees to companies such as eBay, Kickstarter, or Airbnb. On a peer-to-peer network, the existence of a middleman is limited to bringing true value add, such as insurance, for example, rather than just putting two people in contact with each other. And for a decentralized Kickstarter, instead of receiving a pre-order product that quickly becomes obsolete or just a t-shirt, instead, users could be rewarded with tokens of value into the startups that they invest in. The third type of application...
this is tokens in the startups they invest in. So in the new open tokenization framework, you create a token. Anyone can create a token on any blockchain, not just Ethereum. And these tokens operate just like Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Dogecoin, right? Depending on the level it becomes. Dogecoin would be examples at level 6. It's worth 5 cents, right? It's over a penny. For many, many years, it was a level 7 Doge, so it just finally got to level 6 Doge. Litecoin, I think, is a level 4 Doge. It has a value between $100 and $1,000. And Bitcoin, actually, that's a level 6, right? Yeah, level 6. And level 5, because it's 1,000 to 10,000 is level 6, and over 10,000 is level 7, division 7. I keep saying that, right? So everything he is saying now is what we can do, and don't even need Ethereum, or you can build it on Ethereum for that.
Applications are financial ones. There's this concept of the village, where if you were to take a loan and default on it, you'd be banished. In short, you're backing loans with reputations rather than with physical assets. Now, this is a successful concept in the developing world, where microfinance companies have experienced very low default rate. But it's not new, and it's never scaled past a small group of individuals. With Ethereum, you can scale reputation to millions of individuals, so we foresee disruption not just in the developing world, but also much closer to home. And this wouldn't be limited to credit, as on Ethereum, any users can issue and trade stock, bonds, derivatives, and even contracts for differences. It may even be that the Ethereum applications that will have the most impact on the world haven't been invented yet. Just like it took 4 years for social networks to appear on the web, and a couple more years to see them diversify and invent novel applications such as microblogging.
Well, that would be, I would argue, the token. This is the tokenization of everything is the next important step. And that's ultimately where we're headed.
At the core of Ethereum, you're going to find blockchain technology. If you look at centralized application, you'll find they reach trust by being closed, firewalls and security teams that you have to trust and trust to do their job well. Blockchain technology, on the other hand, uses a different model, one by which trust can be reached on an open network. Bitcoin is a currency that was the first and currently best known application of blockchain technology.
And there you go. Going into Bitcoin, the whole thing that I said that we would build it on, right? In the videos that I had, right? I had on there. So I'm going to finish this. Is the blockchain a derivative of it? Is it far stretch? It's up to you. But the fact is this, is that my work did play a role in the development of the blockchain and Ethereum. And my work, UnDaoDu's work, was never credited. Thank you for watching. I'm UnDaoDu. Please share, like, and tell me your thoughts below. Am I ranting crazy? Am I onto something? Do you think Michał Lisi? See, I don't know. I never talked to Vitalik. I blame Michał. Michał is the one I did all my communication with, and I offered 5 Ethereum to find ETH Waldo, which is Matthew and Wright. And actually, let's finish up with Matthew and Wright, because he is the he is the person who I dealt with. And Matthew, let's talk about Matthew and Wright really quick on Bitcoin Talk. So here is the CEO founder of Bitcoin magazine, right? He's never even given credit in the history of Bitcoin magazine. No one ever talks about him. But he was a prolific guy, over 6,000 posts. All his posts are still there, right? His email is hidden. ICQ, all that is hidden. They've bleached everything out of here. He registered in June. In between June, and if you look at his posts, most of his posts happen between June. I think by the time I talked to him, he was already running the problems. Okay, he was blacklisted, and he set out, little Muppet boy, right, to disrupt the whole thing. He started working on a project called Small Planet, small.net, right? Net planet. It was kind of clever. That was the predecessor of Ethereum, and someone could really delve in, ask Vitalik, look at the code of Small Planet, and see how much. It should be still out there. I bet it's sitting on someone's laptop. Someone has Small Planet, and the working docs and everything else. And I think you'll find that he would be. Did they even take the untrustworthy title? He's untrustworthy, given the title of untrustworthy. So he last time, technically, I don't know if he logged in or whatever, but January 2014, to delete or to do some stuff, someone came in, logged in on his account, and that was the last time they ever logged in. He's like a Satoshi Nakamoto, right? Hal Finn, Matthew N. Wright. It's kind of disappeared. No one knows where he is. Last year, or 2019, I put out a 5 ETH reward because I wanted to be my, keynote speaker at DevCon 5. I wanted to bring them. I wanted hey, we got we have us talking about the story of Bitcoin, and the first night was all about Bitcoin. And I wanted Matthew to come in, but no one could find him. I got some very suspect emails and stuff. But this guy here is who introduced himself as the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine and the founder. And he says, I'm going to have you talk to my devs. And the developer that I talked to was 2 of them. One was a Russian. He has the name of a mathematician's name. He's big. He's in the top 10 of Bitcoin. And the other one was Michał Lisi. And I spent 2 months with Mihal debriefing, sharing all my work with him. That in late, as you can see, the 2011, right? And I'll link this. I'll link this document. Where's my here? I'm gonna link this one here because that way I can see if anyone links on it. The cool thing with Bitly, all right, copy, right? Ethereum Foundups one. So I can actually I could edit this and change it and call it, right? Mihal Ali Alisi. Fuck it, Mihal too. Mihal. I don't know how I'm gonna fit. Okay, OTC OTF. Okay, open OTF stolen. I remember that. All right, OTF stolen. All right, I can copy that. All right, copy that OTF. I only have one view. Actually, I could go here too. Skype combo. Well, whatever. All right. So now I can go to the video that should have uploaded by now. Oh, I haven't uploaded it. I haven't saved it. Okay. My chanting. I love it. Where is my chanting? There's my page. You gotta love my chanting. So going back to to here is blah blah blah. This is what I love right here. Okay, I want to show you. I introduced 12/29/2011. Right. All right. This is when the Ouroboros had appeared on my face. Okay, I was like the sign. Like this is the moment. Now I understand. I had this kind of circle appear. My beard stopped growing. The sign of the Ouroboros appeared on my face. I have pictures of it on Facebook. I want to show you the next web paradigm for not only launching ideas, but the way to interact on the web. I'm the creator of OIF, the Open Incubation Framework, and launching Open Startup right on it. Okay, so you may say, well, you could have written this. You could because it's a text doc, right? Well, I copy pasted in there, and then I didn't think about taking. I just wanted to make sure that he couldn't delete. And as soon as he realized who he was, sure enough he deleted. So I wish I would have taken, but for someone to come down and sit here and type all this, right? I guess I could. I had nothing else to do. So Small Planet Net. I called him at least he's Small Planet Net OS Prospect, OSI Prospect. See, I was trying to prospect him. Even says on there. I need to screencast it. So you show me the demo. Yeah, the video. The video is just into awesome. Yeah, I'm not putting it on the web until we protect the IP, right? If intellectual property. If this is why he's not on the white paper, okay? If I never could raise the funds, secure the funds of all right, I could never secure the funds, right? So that's a note that I should put this as a comment here. Actually, I should comment that. All right. I'm putting it on the web. So all right. So I even tell them here that it's IP, right? So they still stole the IP. I'm working on it. Okay. Oh, great. I'll watch the video and contact you. So I'll screencast it. So I screencast the video. He obviously recorded it, right? This again, I need to screencast it. Right here is IP. So we'll show you the demo. On that video before, you saw that smart proto. That's the screencast, and I screencast it through Skype and shared it to him. So great, blah blah blah. Here are the video lists. I'm curious if these still work. Okay. Part 1. What's going to happen? Hold on, let me open up here. Alright, debunking the power of myth. Alright. Over here. And here you have it on 1/7/2012, and this is when kind of was like a kick in my stomach. Is like when he says your vision completes what we're setting up. Change how the monetary system works without talking about the social and other aspects of small planet. Right. This is Ethereum changing the way the system works, the monetary system works without aspects. That's the root of all problems. Right? Yes. My solution, and I go, my solution is to attack the startup, replace the centralized top-down with the bottom-up decentralized found-up. Change the startup, we change the corp, right? Yeah, change corps, we change the world. This is what Ethereum is saying. It's simple. But the corp still uses the monetary system. Yeah, cure the corp that we cure the corp and we save the world. So even if we change the piece of the puzzle, you're still playing their game with their money, The open corp changes who has the money, right? It doesn't matter who has the money. Money comes from them, and money comes from debt. Well, they generate on there. All right, so here it goes back to the whole token thing. So here is the whole token thing, all right? The open tokenization framework. We're having a debate here on it. On it. What's this one here? Curious what that is there. Look at these old videos. Oh, that's my chanting. I would rather believe someone doesn't have a political role. Exact blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Are you preparing to screencast?" You just did one. So then he kind of blew me off. So this is the 12, So I'm trying to recruit Mihao to come work, right? He's a prospect. Small planet OIF prospect. Hey, that's how I would label people in my Skype. We're planning to launch the world's first printed Bitcoin magazine, and I have to involve a lot of work. They make a good story talking about how we would use Bitcoin in it. gives me his email. This was the end of our convo. It wasn't until I learned Ethereum launch, so this is where he accidentally emailed me. Spam I sent out to Skype contacts. And then and it's because I sent out to all these people that he misclicked. I missed a call, missed call from Elise, right? I go, misclick? He goes, yep. Sorry about that. I laugh, reading it on my phone. Because he's stealing my idea, right? So maybe he knew who it was. Yeah, we'll give right crowdfunding for Patreon. So it was an idea I have, like how you could get people to give back. So I give like a network, like someone gives, you give back to theirs, and you create the kind of this. I forgot about that. How's Small Planet startup going? Not the right time of people. Not the right time. Not the right time. People. And there they go to Ethereum. And that's when he said Ethereum. I had my plate full with Ethereum. First time I heard about it. I forgot that I think this article's gone. This article is I posted as soon as I heard about Ethereum. I posted this article. I wonder if I could share this. I think I must have changed the article because or updated it. It was DevCon 2. Huh. 6 years ago. Anyway, yeah. Down the rabbit hole. Thanks for joining me. Kind of long-winded. If you made it this far, appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, and I'm gonna put this all up to the video. So it's a nice little history, tying it all together from the videos that I just stumbled across to Michal Lisi, and it's on you whether you think that based on the beginning of the video is the work tied, and more importantly, not did I influence, right? Did the work of UnDaoDu influence the creation? Now that you know that Vitalik knew all this, UnDaoDu. Nope. It's disappointing.